History remembers Henry VIII as the king of wives and executions, of breakneck divorces and shattered churches. But beneath the grand portraits and blood-drenched pageantry lies something far colder, silence so deep it hums. In the winter of 1534, as England bent under the weight of reform and heresy, a child was born within the stone belly of Ludlow Castle. No trumpet sounded his name. No midwife dared speak her full account. His birth was neither celebrated nor entirely acknowledged. Because this child, dark-eyed, silent, strange, was not meant to live in the light of court. He was the king's son, but not by marriage, nor by law, nor even by rumor. He was a problem solved before it became a question. His name, if it was ever written, has been lost. But among the faded tapestries of Tudor memory, he is known only as the Blackling. The tale survives not in chronicles, but in marginalian, a single line scrawled by an anonymous monk in the Canterbury Psalter. The boy in the red chamber weeps for a father who cannot name him. Most dismiss it as poetic lament. But what if it was not poetry? What if it was memory, fractured, buried, forbidden? The mother's name was Eleanor Lyscombe, a lady-in-waiting of no particular wealth, but of uncommon beauty and quiet defiance. Her service in the court of Queen Catherine had gone largely unremarked, until one summer's evening she vanished from all records as if plucked from parchment. Within weeks, she was seen again pale, withdrawn, stationed in Ludlow under the pretense of fragile health. Those who tended to her swore she spoke only in whispers, that she wept at the sight of falcons, and that her chambers were guarded not by local stewards, but by men who bore no livery and gave no names. When the child was born, there was no baptismal record, no priest summoned, only a sealed message delivered to Whitehall-born on black waxhand, a single reply, returned unsigned. He must not exist. But something went wrong. The child lived. They placed him in a chamber with no name, a room carved from the western wall of the castle, where the wind spoke louder than any nurse. There were no toys, no lullabies, only silence and stone and the shifting glances of those paid to pretend he was not there. He grew not like a prince, but like a secret tall for his age, pale with eyes that never blinked long enough for comfort. They fed him well, clothed him plainly, and taught him only one thing: never to ask. Eleanor Lyscombe remained by his side, not as a mother, but as a caretaker. Her title was stripped, her surname erased in all but one ledger, hidden in the inventory of a monastery now long burned. To the boy, she was simply Lady E, a woman of distant warmth, who hummed old Welsh hymns under her breath when she believed no one listening. She never touched him gently. She never called him son. But every night, when he coughed in the dark, she would sit by his bed until the sound faded. Outside, the kingdom roared. Henry's court unraveled in a tempest of excommunications and annulments. Anne Boleyn danced her final reel. Cromwell tightened his grip. Yet in Ludlow, a single page turned slowly. Each day a boy without a name learned to read Latin by candlelight. To trace maps of Europe he'd never touch. To sign a name he was forbidden to speak aloud. But children grow, and the mind, though caged, begins to notice its bars. On his 7th winter he asked Eleanor, "Why does no one look me in the eye?" She answered with a story, not of kings but of shadows, of things born under the wrong stars, who lived not in the world, but beside it. Some creatures, she said, are meant to be watched, not seen. It was meant to quiet him, did not. That night he wrote a word on the frost of his window.
Father.
By his 12th year, the boy had begun to change. No longer quiet, no longer content with the small world drawn around him. He asked questions many, sharp and often left unanswered. He demanded books beyond the Psalms, histories beyond Rome. Most alarming of all, he began to write. Not childish scrawls, but letters articulate, precise, written in courtly hand. Letters addressed to no one, but signed with a name he should not have known. Henricus Secundus. Eleanor found them under his pillow. She burned each one without speaking. But servants talked. Whispers slid through the corridors like drafts. They said the boy looked like someone, not Eleanor, not any nobleman of March's blood, but someone higher. The arch of the brow, the set of the jaw, temper sharp, but controlled. A boy who stared too long, who stood too straight. who spoke once to a falconer in such a way that the man dropped his glove and knelt without knowing why. And then came the visitor. Arrived on a rainless evening in spring, cloaked and unnamed, with royal bearing but no retinue. His boots were French. His ring bore the Tudor rose. He was led to the boy's chamber without introduction. No one heard what was said, save for one phrase overheard by a page hiding near the door. The man's voice was low, velveted with authority. "You are not to write again," to which the boy replied, "Then I shall speak." The next morning, the boy's chamber was sealed. Eleanor was dismissed quietly and sent to a convent in Kent under a false name. Her belongings were destroyed. Her horse returned without a saddle, and the boy he was gone. No record of departure, no carriage observed, no body found. No. But in the center of the stone floor where his bed had stood, someone had etched a mark. Not with chalk or coal, but scratched deep into the rock itself. Vivat Rex. Long live the king. Years passed and England forgot. The records were cleansed with Tudor efficiency. Pages torn, seals melted, witnesses vanished like frost in the noon sun. Lenor Lyscombe died in cloistered silence, her final words unrecorded, her grave unmarked. No portraits, no diaries, only a single rosary with a Tudor rose carved backward on its cross buried beneath convent stone. And the boy became mist. Officially, he never existed. Yet sometimes, history stutters. In 1587, during Elizabeth's reign, a Jesuit priest captured at Dover claimed to have met an English prince raised among shadows, living now beneath the ground of Reims. No one believed him. Tortured, he wept not for his sins, but for the boy with no crown, who should have ruled the storm. In 1622, a forbidden manuscript surfaced in Praga Chronicle, written in Latin, unsigned, detailing the memories of a man raised in isolation, trained in law and scripture, whose bloodline was too close to God's anointed to breathe free. The manuscript was seized and lost during the fires of the 30 Years' War. And in 1910, during renovations of Ludlow Castle, chamber was discovered behind a collapsed wall, small, windowless. The stone floor bore a single iron ring fixed into its center. No furniture, no door handle, just one thing left behind. A child's carved letter opener bearing the Tudor crest, and on its hilt, faint but unmistakable, the initials HR. Henry VIII. Was it a prison, a nursery, or both? No historian would confirm. No museum would display. The item vanished into a private collection. But stories do not die quietly. They echo between walls, beneath skin, across centuries. They live in the glances that linger too long on erased names, in portraits repainted, in bloodlines too tangled to trace, and somewhere, in the marrow of history's silence. He still waits not for a crown, not for revenge, but to be remembered. For he was the king who never was, and every wall that hides him still stands.